I wonder what my lady would say. I wonder what my lady would say. I wonder what my lady would say.
Hello, my name is Malerie. You're watching GCTV. I'm here with Zoe Smith, who is the Greenfield police officer. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I understand you serve in a new program for Greenfield Police. Can you explain what your role is and what goals this program hopes to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. So the position that I currently am assigned is the Downtown Business District Officer. So my job as a police officer for the Greenfield Police Department is to be downtown, to walk the beat, and to build relationships with everybody who goes downtown. And so that might be people who own businesses, that might be people who shop, and it might be people who just hang out downtown as part of their normal daily activities. And I am assigned underneath the Community Impact Unit, the CIU, which is a larger part of the police department that includes other community policing initiatives and Officer Frank, the comfort dog, and things like that.
That's cool. Why did you want to become a police officer?
That's one of those classic questions, and I think the answer for me is twofold. One of them is kind of the cliche, I want to help people. And police officers are really, they're the jack of all trades, right? So we have to be very good at a lot of things, and we have to be exceptionally good at a handful of small things. And when somebody needs help, they call a police officer, and we have to kind of solve the problem. And personally, I really enjoy the way that police work challenges me and helps me become a better person by interacting with more people and learning about more people.
That's cool. What kind of training did you have to go through to become a police officer?
So, very basic. There is a police academy that is put on by usually the state of Massachusetts, and some larger departments have their own academies. And you go to this police academy and you come in through the door not knowing a single thing about police work. And they teach you everything you might need to know. And so that includes not just how to drive a police car or how to use a gun, but also things like what laws we need to memorize and what things you can arrest somebody for and what things you can't. And that program lasts a few months, and then once you graduate from the police academy, you have the bare minimum knowledge you might need, and then when you go to your department, you get assigned like a field training officer and somebody who kind of shows you the ropes and rides around with you, and you get some one-on-one training. So that's like the bare minimum what you need to be a police officer.
That's cool. Is there special training you go through to interact with people with disabilities?
That's a great question. We do a lot of specialized trainings that either focus on specific people in our community, right? Be it physical disabilities or learning disabilities or things like that. And then we do generalized trainings in general, which is, how to communicate with people, how to listen to people, and hear what they're saying and not just react to the way that they're saying things. And a lot of those initiatives are the holistic ones, kind of the general ones are taught to us in the police academy. And then the specific ones are interest groups. There's an organization that supports deaf and hard of hearing citizens that promotes and puts out specific education for police officers and things like that. And every single year, we call it continuing education, in-service education, and so we have to keep learning as new information comes out and new science and new techniques.
That's cool. What does a typical day look like for you at work?
For me at work, it's similar to other police officers, but it's a little bit different for me just because I'm the business district officer. But first thing first, my shift typically starts at 11 in the morning. And I get into work about 10:30 and I put my uniform on, I make sure my radio works. We have body cameras, I make sure I'm wearing one of those, and then I check my emails, just like most people at other jobs, to see if there's anything I need to know before I go out. And then I sign out a police car, and then I drive downtown, I find a place to park, and then I just start walking around. And so my typical day of work is walking around, interacting with people, checking on people that I already know, the relationships that I'm building, and meeting new people and introducing myself. And then if something happens, the other day we had a car accident downtown, so because I was right there, I could go over and investigate that. Or other sorts of crimes or anything, then I might respond to those as they come in.
That's cool. How do you stay safe when you're working?
First and foremost, I think it is being aware of one's surroundings. So there's a phrase, your head on a swivel, which basically just means that when I'm interacting with somebody or I'm solving one problem, that I'm always aware of who's walking around me or some other problems or cars that are driving around. And then in addition to that, physical fitness is a big component, making sure that we're healthy and that we can walk and run if we need to. And then the last component is everything we carry on us. And so the most important tool is a radio. And so I can use my radio to call other police officers to come and help me. And I'm always listening to my radio in case another police officer needs some help and I can go and help them.
That's cool. What kind of tools or equipment do you carry with you?
So specifically, the things that I carry with me on my person all the time when I'm walking around, the gun is kind of the obvious one that police officers are always carrying and everything that goes along with that. And then the handcuffs, that's the other thing that most people recognize. But the other tools that I always have Narcan in my pocket in case I find somebody who's suffering from an overdose and I can administer the Narcan. I also have a pen and a pad of paper. We joke that that's kind of our most important tool because we're always writing down notes and things like that, the radio, and knives, keys, anything like that that I don't want to have to go back to the police car to go get.
How do you help people in your community?
Police officers help people in lots of different ways, and we are, as I said before, we're usually the first person that responds to an emergency. We're always out driving around. Sometimes we discover things ourselves, and so we help people in all sorts of ways. You know, the obvious ones are when somebody calls and they need help because they've been in a car accident. We can help by investigating that and filing a report. But the other thing is sometimes we get called and the way that we can help is finding a resource for that person. So we have connections in the community with other organizations, and it might be, you know, relaying to somebody that the warming center is open and making sure they know how to get there, or giving somebody a ride to the bus terminal because they need to get someplace that they won't be able to get to otherwise, or even just providing blankets or sleeping bags or shoes or socks to people who need those things and they don't have another means of getting those things.
What should someone do if they ever need help from the police?
If you need help from a police officer or you're not sure whether a police officer would help and it's an emergency, 911 is your golden number because 911 will get you to a dispatcher, and that dispatcher knows what everybody can do. They know who's working, they know what capabilities they have, and they can decide whether they're going to send a police officer or the fire department or an ambulance or a public works person. And so if you think you need help and you have a problem that you can't really solve on your own, and it's an emergency, like somebody might get hurt if the problem isn't solved soon, 911 is the way to call. And a police officer will show up and we'll help you through the process. We're experts in emergencies and we'll take over when we show up.
Have you ever had to make a really tough decision on the job?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we do, or we prepare for some really tough decisions because we're responding to emergencies and people need us to help solve their problems. Sometimes we make decisions that are difficult, but our training and our experience allows us to make decisions that are confidently made and based in science and knowledge, and those decisions that we have to make are done expertly because we practice to make those decisions. I think most of what a police officer does day to day is just be a person who kind of knows a little bit about everything and can help somebody through a hard time, and it's not really the very tough decisions that we have to make.
What is the most important thing you do to keep people safe?
I think the most important thing I do to keep people safe is to be ready. I talked about physical fitness and having the equipment that we need. I think it's also being a member of the community and knowing the community and understanding that people have lots of different experiences, lived experiences. They come with lots of different traumas, and that appreciating that we're all individuals that play a role in how we behave allows me to be a better police officer and interact with people and keep them safe based on what they need in that moment most of all.
How do you make sure you're fair to everyone, no matter who they are?
Yeah, that's a difficult problem. The police officers, we pride ourselves in being impartial, right? Which means that it doesn't matter who you are, but we make the same decision. But a lot of what we do, like I just said, is informed by who we are as individuals and who people are as individuals. I'm a trans woman, and so that influences my experience with members of the LGBTQ community. And then when I encounter somebody who has lived experience that I don't have, I recognize that I am lacking that experience, and I need to listen to them and I need to learn from them. And we will often lean on our fellow police officers who have different lived experiences that can weigh in or take over or advocate for people in a moment where somebody else might not have that same experience and knowledge.
That's cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course, it's my pleasure.
No problem. And thanks for watching GCTV. See you next time.